Transition partners take mental health very seriously. We are now supporting Claro Mental Health Charity, who are local and based in Harrogate. We are working closely with Richard Kenny, who is the IT director at TechBuyer. Claro operates as a commercial workshop making goods for businesses which enable those with long-term mental health conditions to function in a voluntary real work environment. We would love it if you can join us in supporting this amazing cause and charity and donate what you can. Any amount would be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, and thanks to all our listeners.
Hi, this is the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. My name's Elly Greeny.
And my name's Sandra Stewart.
On this podcast, we will be interviewing some of the UK's greatest tech leaders. We'll be discussing war stories, battle scars, and their learnings from their journeys.
Hopefully, you will pick up some great tips, learn from others' experiences, and have a good laugh along the way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. So this week, we've got a superb guest who's bringing lots of energy and great vibes to us on a Friday afternoon, and that's Lubomila Jordanova. So hi, Lubomila. How are you?
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you on the podcast. So Lubomila is the founder and CEO of PlanA. They're a Berlin-based startup developing a software as a service platform that automates calculating, monitoring, and reducing the carbon footprint of companies. She recently set up Greentech Alliance, who are a community of over 500 green tech startups from all over the world, as well as winning multiple awards for PlanA around sustainability and social impact. She is also a mentor and advocate for female founders and has featured in the Forbes Under 30, and Slush's Top 15, which is amazing.
Wow.
There's just so many good things to say.
I always feel really awkward when I listen to...
When you're listening to hearing all those great things about yourself.
Forbes 30 under 30, that's huge.
I know. How do you find time for all this? Do you sleep?
Not much. I've learned to balance between a lot of things, and actually it gives me energy if I switch between topics. So that's how I end up doing so much, I guess. But I don't sleep a lot, and I have the bad habit of working on weekends, which I don't recommend to anyone, but slowly removing stuff from at least from one day of the week. So yeah, that's how it is.
It's tough when you love what you do, right? Which is why we're so excited to have you on the podcast, because it's clear that you're really passionate about everything that you're involved in. So we can't wait to hear more about it today.
Yeah, no, definitely. Fantastic. So I always like to start these with just setting the scene for you to, if you can just kind of tell your story to the listeners and the viewers, where it all started, how it all began, and the whole journey of how you got to where you are today.
Thank you so much for this question. Well, the story started, I guess, in about PlanA, in particular, on a beach in Morocco. I was surfing, or supposedly I was going to be surfing for a week with some friends of mine, and instead of surfing, I ended up cleaning beaches for a week because the state of the beaches where we were supposed to be surfing was so dire that it ended up being kind of overwhelmingly clear that we should do some good as well while pretending to be able to surf. That was the state of my surfing capability at that time. At this point in my life, I was having a very comfortable existence. I was in London working in a fintech company as an analyst to the CEO and the CTO, which were the two co-founders. The company was growing tremendously well, and I had the great honor to be receiving a lot of tasks from the two people that were managing the company. So I was able to be really close to the whole company growth development process. So I was in a good moment in my life, but this opportunity to kind of see the world differently, or this serendipitous trip to Morocco, ended up making me quite conscious of the fact that I was totally disengaged with the topic of climate change and with pollution altogether. So when I went back to London, I ended up spending significant amount of my time after work educating myself, did online courses, met some scholars from my university. I was studying in LSE before working in Iwaka, and ended up quite quickly realizing that there was no better use of my time and skills than simply focusing on applying this business mindset that I had developed in my education, which was, an incredible, set of things that I've learned in both my undergrad and in my master's. But I ended up quite quickly realizing that there's very few people working in the climate change field from the business perspective, and I could contribute somehow to that. And that was kind of the beginning of PlanA. A lot of things happened after that. But yeah, I let the conversation unfold all these activities.
Fantastic. That's interesting. So let's then hear more about obviously when you came back to London from the supposed surfing trip, and how PlanA kind of came about, the journey that, because I think it's interesting, and I love it when we have founders of startups on the show, and I'm so interested to learn about the whole journey, and like kind of, because I can imagine there's been lots of challenges and pitfalls that you've overcome, and it's great for others to learn about those experiences as well.
Yeah, well, I think regardless of at what stage of the business you are and the growth of the business, there's always a lot of hurdles, and you learn a lot from them. I think with PlanA, the journey started in a totally different place where it is now. We've pivoted 3 times, and this has taught us tremendously well to learn to be agile, to learn to adapt ourselves to the signals that we get from the market. The first thing that we built was a donation platform, nothing to do with the software that I'm explaining, what we're working on now. And this donation platform had the aim to use science to translate it into decision-making behind someone making a donation, regardless if it's an individual or a company. That worked really well in terms of the amount of money we managed to gather. Within a year, we managed to collect close to 1 million euros. And
Wow.
that was really great because you could support incredible organizations from all over the world. And we were using data to decide where the money should go based on who was facing the most severe environmental issues. And we also learned along the way, because we worked with a lot of big companies at this point, with Eventbrite, with like beer producers, with people that were producing furniture in Germany, lemonade that is really famous, and so on. And we learned that companies were not only concerned about giving, which is really nice to be in this privileged position to be able to give, but they were also concerned with their own sustainability perspective and their own footprint. And this was kind of what brought us on the next stage of the company's existence, where when company one after the other started asking us, okay, but how are we actually affecting the negative impacts? How are we actually contributing with negative impacts on our planet? What can we do about it? We started developing 2 products, one first and then the second. First was an algorithm that predicts where and how climate change will hit the hardest. And then the second one is what we have today, which is the software that helps companies calculate, monitor, and reduce their emissions. And it was really great because I'm sure many of your listeners, and as I know from the other episodes on the podcast, there's a lot of knowledge you can gather from your customers. And this is one of the mantras that many businesses go through. For this, we essentially kind of listened to what the customers were telling us and then shaped it into offerings. The algorithm was able to help them understand in the long-term 20 to 30-year horizon how their supply chains were going to be reshaped because of climate change, how their access to natural resources is going to be reshaped, and also just in general how they were negatively impacting the planet. And then for the software itself, we basically automate the process of having this visibility on your emissions, which is a key component that we need in order to be starting to act effectively on the health of our planet.
Fantastic, so interesting. How have you grown as a business in terms of size and people? So obviously you've grown with, like you say, you've pivoted 3 times since you've established a business, which it's great that you've had that, you know, that what's the word I'm looking for?
The innovative mindset.
The whole that mindset to be able to adapt and, like you say, be agile, and which is amazing. Let's talk a bit more detail about how you've grown in terms of size and what your plans are for the future. It'd be really interesting.
We have now 25 people in the company, but the starting point was me and my co-founder, Nathan, who actually was then a friend of a friend that saw my post on social media, which was about setting up a company dedicated to fighting climate change, and responded and started working basically for free for a few months. And then we said that we need to be building this together.
That's so cool. So you were literally, he saw your post on social media, and that's how you, what was it, on Twitter or?
No, on Facebook. So I posted on Facebook, hey, like I've left my job and I'm setting up a company that is going to help environmental organizations get more funding. Anyone that has tips, ideas, or, wants to connect me with someone, please tag them on this post. And this was at the times when Facebook was still really popular. So it was really possible for you to get a lot of traction. The post got like shared hundreds of times, and then so many people liked it. And the whole thing resulted in a lot of fantastic people suggesting that they can support. And Nathan was the one that went above and beyond by basically dedicating his full time to this for quite some time, and then deciding that he wants to move to Berlin from Paris and so on. So this is how the whole team setup started. Our first employee is Vamsi, which is our chief emission accounting officer. Complex name and also a complex topic. What he does is he's a published scientist with particular focus on carbon accounting, all the methodology behind life cycle analysis and climate modeling. So he kind of gave a lot of, I would say, content and solid foundation when it comes to this scientific side of our company.
And I think that is so crucial, isn't it? Because it's when you hear the stats and the figures and the impact that you're making, that's when it really brings it to life, and you think, right, we really need to make some action and change around what we're doing as a business.
Absolutely. And I think it's incredibly important to have a team that is complementary, but also diverse in terms of nationalities. We have close to 20 nationalities in the team, which out of a 25-person team is pretty good.
That's very good.
Quite of a good, I would say, balance between men and women. And we have quite a open discussion about these things. And that is what I believe is the key element to having the agility to be able to change and respond to these customer requests, but then also to have this mindset that allows you to have, the understanding of what kind of product you want to build and what kind of audience you want to serve and what kind of mission you want to fulfill.
Fantastic. Brilliant. So it'd be really interesting to hear more about your leadership style. Obviously, with this being a leadership podcast, it'd be great to understand more about your individual leadership style, and also if you could describe how you think your teams would describe your style.
I think when it comes to leadership, I have quite of a open, direct approach in communication. This is something that also leads to, I would say, building a trustful and open relationship with everyone from the employees. I don't believe in hierarchy in a way that every single person on the team is being heard. This is something that has been super important for us since the beginning. And doesn't matter if someone is intern or someone is at the C level. they have to have the equal respect for every single opinion that is being given and should have the comfort to express their own opinion. When it comes to the, thank you. When it comes to the, maybe, because leadership comes out also in crisis moments and in like difficult times. I guess what's been really important for me is to give people comfort in a more emotional manner. I'm an emotional person myself, so whenever it comes to like dramatic moments, because of course we've gone through them, and like challenging times and moments when we need to adapt, like I really want to always make sure that everyone is on the same page emotionally, and if there's anyone that feels discomfort, that is quickly addressed. And if I go to the second question that you might have, I think I'm someone that is quite loud. I mean, you don't miss me in a room, and it's my voice. I'm being fully blunt. Like it's because of my voice. It's because of like I always joke and I always make open comments. And I think for many people on my team, like there's really a lot of benefit to having this like open relationship, but there's definitely like problems are also put on the table, so we don't kind of sit around the topic and then discuss it in like over like 3 hours just to get to the bottom of it. Like I prefer to have really straightforward relationship with people. Quite direct, I would say, not always maybe what people immediately would expect. I have definitely adapted myself to as we're growing, like you need to deliver messages in different ways, but I can comfortably say that people know that I have a very direct approach in how we deal with issues and with good moments and with all sorts of moments.
Yeah. It sounds like you've got a great style in terms of allowing your people to be open and have that space and time where they can come to you and I guess you come across as your open book. What you see is what you get, but with that it brings that directness but you've obviously learned throughout your journey that people know that, and everyone's different, and you have to change your style for different.
Sounds like a bit of a deja vu. Me and Sandra, we have this problem all the time that we speak to each other very direct all the time because we're very on the same page with that. But as a leader, you have to learn when's the right time, when's not the right time. But then, like, I love a lot of the policies and the culture that you're creating around that, because you're obviously working with really passionate people, and the opportunity that everyone gets to discuss their ideas, and it sounds fantastic. I've just got so many questions that I could ask you. I feel like I've got an idea of things that I'd like to ask you for our podcast specifically, but there's just so much stuff around sustainability. It's something that, like, probably up until like 9 months ago, I was probably a bit like blasé about it all in sustainability in tech, and was kind of like, it wasn't, we've always been really immersed in the tech community as consultants, but it's something that wasn't really discussed. And then one of our clients over in the UK, you might have listened to his podcast, is a guy called Rich Kenny from a company called Tech Buyer. Oh, did you listen to Rich's? So his one is all like they work in a business repurposing. So it's fantastic, and I learned a lot about sustainability from him, and then ran an event off the back of it. And for me, it's definitely a journey that I'm learning, and I'd love to at some point get you involved in something like that with us, because it's something that needs to be spoke about in our community. But I digress, and I'm going to go back to leadership because that'll be for another day. But I'd love to know a little bit more about like your top tips really for building a startup, because it's really challenging, it's really tough. You're still sitting there with a great big smile on your face, so clearly you've had a positive but I'd love it if you could share your top tips for our listeners that are about to embark on that journey, and any words of advice that you've got.
Well, just to make a comment to what you said, because I think it's really important to have this openness and honesty with regards to sustainability. And I really appreciate that. And I salute this, because there's not always enough comfort in the fact that people just don't know enough. And I think all of us have gone on our own journey to get to where we are with the topic. And it's really great to know that you have, you've consciously taken the step to understand what's going on. So kudos on that. But when it comes to the question you asked, one of the key lessons that I learned for myself has been to stop thinking in terms of failures, just like failing doesn't exist. And what it means is that there's always an opportunity to learn. If a product that you've shipped to market has not responded with the results that you have expected, this is the perfect moment for you to ask your clients or the clients that you didn't manage to get about what didn't work, what did they expect differently, and then you're going to build something that is even more applicable to them. It goes further into like seeing it more philosophically, where you've applied for a competition, you didn't get it, you've applied for funding, you didn't get it. I think it's a constant perfection journey to be building a company, because you're always like improving the product, you're always improving yourself, you're always improving the efficiency and happiness of the team. And you just need to consider that like every opportunity that comes your way is your opportunity. Everything else is secondary if it hasn't happened. At least I truly kind of live by the mantra that if one door closes, another 5 open. And it takes some time to embed this in the way you work, because you always kind of think that 1 + 1 should equal 2. Sometimes it equals a potato, or like, I don't know, an orange or whatever, something totally unexpected. And but it's always beautiful. And I think it's all people should kind of have this perception that their company is shaped by the journey that is being given to them by the choices that they make. There's a lot that you can learn. And I think the value is in this. It's not in the focusing on failures. The second tip would be the positivity. Like, I think you can't build you need to be an open-minded, positive, kind person to build a successful company. And I'm saying it from all the phenomenal examples I've seen in London, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, like anywhere basically in an entrepreneurial environment. The people that are the most successful, and I'm calculating this by who have the happiest companies, the ones that are raising funds, are also getting good products to the market, are the ones that do it with a lot of integrity. One example is Stripe, as a company. I know a lot of people that work in Stripe, and the company's history is just phenomenal. And the drive that these two guys have had, this family even, both of them has built something that is spoken so highly of. And I think this is really key element. At least, we're in the beginning of our journey. We're 25 people. And we've seen a lot of changes within the last 4 years. But for all the things that we've been able to achieve, to build the community, to build the software, to have like massive clients and so on, it has been truly reliant on this attitude that we've developed in the company that is like, put a smile on your face. You're solving one of the biggest challenges that humanity is facing. And you can't be the bad messenger in this particular case. You need to be the one that is pragmatic but positive, because it's something that goes beyond simply shipping a product. You're actually delivering on a bigger mission. And then the final one that I guess, because just for the sake of having 3, because there's definitely a lot more, is about like putting the house in order. I've seen so many companies when they're being set up, it's just a massive mess. And I'm speaking even up until the level where you don't have a proper like system to organize your folders online. You don't have like a documentation set up where like all the signed contracts that you have are saved and everything. It's something that is simple, and it doesn't take a lot of knowledge to be able to set it up, but it can lead to really big challenges if you don't end up setting it up properly in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly agree. Having been through it ourselves, I think one of the biggest things is the processes and systems and procedures. And if it's not done right, it's very difficult to then go back and try and track everything. It's just near on impossible, really, isn't it? It's fantastic.
I think there was some fantastic, some really great tips there. I've just actually, sorry, I've got one more thing that I wanted to that was, clearly you've got loads of stuff that you're really passionate about, and we always ask them in the podcast around what people are passionate about and what drives that. But you've done slightly something like very different, really. You've taken something that you're passionate about, but you've really raised the bar and taken it to the next level, particularly with Greentech Alliance. So I'd like to ask a little bit more about that and how you've kind of taken the concept and grown it to the scale it is today, because that's really awesome, and it's well worth shouting about.
Thank you so much for asking about the Greentech Alliance. This came out of pure concern about COVID and the results of COVID on our ecosystem. We set this up in May 2020, so like shortly after the first lockdown or midst, depending on where you were. And our main concern was that if now the economy stops for half a year, which is now even longer, what is going to happen to all these sustainable companies that in any case already are facing so many challenges in terms of accessing funding? There's like probably like one tiny little fraction of the amount of funding that exists for tech companies that goes towards green tech companies. People started losing customers. We started seeing also a lot of discussions about economic recovery and so on. And we just set it up out of concern that there could be less focus on sustainability on a governmental, private, individual level and so on. And the whole concept was like, okay, we have all these companies that we know of, and there's probably thousands and thousands that we do not know of. They need to know of each other, first of all, to know how to increase their own impact by knowing about the impact of others. Because if we all do the same thing, probably we're not going to be able to effectively fight climate change. So we need to build solutions that actually are complementary to each other, the ones that support each other. And then we need to expose these companies to one another, but then also find them problem solvers, people of, I would say, prominence, importance, even fame, and, you know, good position in society who can help them. Because now, and what essentially ended up happening is we have now a community of more than 500 startups that are connected to 350 advisors, which includes journalists from TechCrunch, senior advisors of Bank of England. We have people that have written the IPCC report, people from Yale University, MIT. And all of these people have donated between 1 and 3 hours a month for the community members to speak to them, help them with anything that they face. It could be hiring, it could be UX, it could be SEO, it could be connections to investors, it could be funding, whatever it is. And the point was essentially to get these companies to know about each other and to be able to have a KPI-driven community, a community that really helps them solve their problems.
That's so awesome. So it's a global community of businesses, and anyone can join.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyone can go on www.greentech.earth and what they would see is there's an application form that takes 5 minutes. Then we do an interview, because we have actually received more than 1,500 applications, but we've accepted 500 because we interview everyone and we make sure there's no greenwashing, there's no people that do this as a side gig, so that, you know, there's really focus on people that have given. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really, really great initiative. If I mean, for anyone in a leadership role, you know, you've got to think about your health and your well-being and how you manage the whole, you know, the stress of it all. But you know, you've got lots of different initiatives on the go, and you've had an impressive journey today. Obviously, we touched on this at the start, and you know, when I said, how do you find the time to do all this? How do you find the time? You said you don't sleep very much. How do you find time to keep yourself sane and healthy and manage the whole stress of it all? What tips have you got there for us?
I do yoga. I keep myself active in terms of moving my body, even if it's just for a walk or a jog, but making sure that I don't stay in this setup where you wake up, take a shower, go to the office, stay until 10 p.m. and then, you know, have a glass of wine and then back in the same chain of events. So I try to like go in nature over the weekend. This normally happens one of the 2 days, or if there's more freedom in time there, we go for the whole weekend. And that's kind of the main activity. Obviously, lockdown has significantly changed the way we live. I used to be going to yoga all the time. Now I mainly jog because I don't have the space and facilities at home to kind of have a proper yoga session. And yeah, when it comes to like, if you would have asked me before lockdown, I was spending a lot of time with my friends. Also, I used to travel quite a bit, like do a lot of hiking. Now we're limited to hiking in Germany, which in Berlin is not possible because we don't have mountains around here. So we do little walks, as we call them here. But there's still plenty to be done. But keeping myself connected to nature, I would say this is the one thing that really recharges me. And 2 weekends ago, I was collecting mushrooms. Like, they do these things sometimes to keep myself sane.
Yeah, fantastic. I think it's so important, isn't it? We all need it even more so now. But it unfortunately, due to the lockdowns, it does limit what we can do. But it's important to do something every day. And it sounds like you're obviously putting a lot of hours in, but you're ensuring that you're looking after yourself as well.
So the past year has been a whirlwind for us all, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But I'd love to finish the podcast with finding out like what you've got planned on your agenda, what you're doing at PlanA, Greentech Alliance that you've got over the next 12 months that you're really excited about.
We're actually launching a campaign that is specific to the UK, France, and Germany on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday.
How exciting!
Super exciting, yeah. If I can say a bit in advance, we haven't spoken to anyone about this yet. The campaign is called Make 2021 Count, because 2020 kind of didn't, with all these things that have kept us at home and away from one another or in front of computers. And it's specifically dedicated to the small businesses that are up to 50 to 60 people. We're going to be doing basically kind of a big wipe off of the normal usual charge that we have for the software for them to get going with their sustainability. And
that's so great.
Yeah, there's going to be a dedicated team of 10 people that are solely going to be focusing on this campaign within the next month and a half. And it's super exciting for anyone that is talking and thinking about sustainability at this very moment. This is a perfect opportunity to get in touch with the topic. And I mean, we think that this is the moment to empower people that have been thinking about it, but have been considering that this is like really expensive. I can't have it on my agenda. Sustainability is actually a competitive advantage for every company. Anyone that starts doing it now is ahead of the game for something that is going to become a universal demand from clients, from employees in the coming years. And we think that the small companies should have a chance to do that, not only the big corporates who can announce big fancy sustainability agendas that have been defined by probably close to 30 people or 50 people in some cases. So that's something that is happening in the next 2 months. And then for 2021 itself, we've planned a lot of product updates. We're going to be releasing 3 versions of the platform. At the moment, we have 2. And then we're also going to be doing some exciting things with the product specifically focused on the reduction side, where companies would be able to essentially connect to solution providers through the platform itself and build essentially their own community of other sustainable businesses within the platform. So anyone that becomes our client essentially joins a club, which is going to be announced next year in more detail.
Love it. You've got so many amazing ideas on the go. And if there's anything that we could do as an organisation, particularly our head office is the UK, and if there's anything we can do to help push the initiative and making 2021
definitely, particularly in the UK. Yeah.
We'd love to get involved with that. It'd be fantastic.
I'll send you some info.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. I feel like I could just do with you every morning, give me a little pep talk. Okay, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I've loved having you on the podcast. It's been fantastic. If anyone wants to reach out and connect with you on, is it LinkedIn, Twitter? What's the best form of contact?
LinkedIn is best. I admire people that have the capacity to be super active on Twitter. I'm not one of those. I retweet things that I believe in, but I'm one of those people that don't even justify why they've retweeted something. So maybe not the best place. But LinkedIn, I'm super active. I have a big community there, and also like a big network that I'm happy to open up to people that believe in the mission.
That's so great. It's so fantastic to hear.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much for
you.
opening up my Friday. I'm really pumped up after this discussion.
Good stuff. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.